Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that can literally upgrade how you think, how you solve problems, and how you see the entire world. And it all starts with one simple question.
So let me ask you this. When a new problem lands on your plate, is your thinking more like addition? Or is it more like multiplication? I know, it sounds a little weird, but stick with me. Your answer says a lot about the kind of mental software you're running.
Okay, what's the difference? It's all about efficiency. I mean, think about it. If you need to figure out what 158 groups of 7 are, you could, add 7 plus 7 plus 7 158 times. It's slow, it's painful, but yeah, you'll get there. Or you could just use a better tool, multiplication, and boom, you've got the answer in a second. And believe it or not, this is a choice we're making with our thinking all the time.
The thing is, a lot of us, and we don't even realize we're doing it, we tackle big, complex problems using that addition method. We're starting from scratch every time, just relying on our own gut feeling, trying to connect the dots one by one. It's kind of like trying to run your life on some seriously outdated software.
And that default mode, it is just so inefficient. When you don't have the right tools, you're basically forced to reinvent the wheel for every single new challenge that comes your way. It's not just that it slows you down, it actually holds you back. It keeps you from seeing the bigger picture and really getting a handle on complex problems.
So what's the alternative? How do we make that jump to multiplication thinking? Well, the answer is to start building yourself a mental toolbox. And this is where mental models come into play. Think of them as the ultimate software upgrade for your brain.
So, what is a mental model? Put simply, it's just a representation of how something works. It's not just a random fact, no, it's a framework, a map, really. And these maps, they help us cut through all the noise, simplify complexity, spot patterns, and just make sense of the world.
But okay, there's a really important warning that comes with these maps. The philosopher Alfred Korzybski had this famous saying, "The map is not the territory." A model is a simplification of reality, it's not reality itself. So yeah, they're incredibly useful, but we always have to remember they have limits. We can't mistake the map for the actual place.
And that leads perfectly to this next idea. You've probably heard it before. If all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. This really gets at the danger of only having one or two models in your toolbox. You'll just try to force that one solution onto every problem. The key to really thinking effectively is to build a diverse toolbox, pulling models from all different fields. That way, you can pick the right tool for the right job.
All right, let's grab our first tool from the toolbox and put it to work. This first model is all about learning to see the invisible chain reactions that our decisions set off. It's an incredibly powerful concept called second-order thinking.
And to really get this, we're going to look at a classic real-world story of what happens when you only think one step ahead. It's a pretty fascinating case of a decision that made perfect sense on the surface, but ended up backfiring spectacularly.
Okay, so there was this daycare center, right? And they had a nagging problem. Parents were always late picking up their kids. So they came up with what seemed like a totally logical solution. They introduced a fine for being late. That's your classic first-order thinking. But what happened next was, well, it was a total shock. Lateness didn't go down, it actually went up. So why? Because the fine took away the social pressure, that feeling of guilt. Suddenly, it wasn't a moral thing anymore, it was just a simple transaction. Parents were basically paying for the privilege of being late.
And that, right there, is the power of second-order thinking. It's the simple but profound discipline of always asking yourself, and then what? It forces you to look past the immediate result and see the chain of consequences, the ripple effects that come after. This is an absolutely crucial tool for avoiding those kinds of unintended disasters, whether you're talking about a business plan or just a personal decision.
Okay, ready for the next tool? Let's add another one to the toolbox. This next model is fantastic for understanding how a bunch of seemingly rational individual choices can somehow add up to a terrible outcome for everybody. It's called the tragedy of the commons.
So picture this. There's a big, open pasture that all the herders in a village share. Now, for any single herder, adding one more cow to their flock makes perfect sense, right? It's just pure profit for them. But What happens when every single herder makes that same logical choice? The pasture gets completely overgrazed, it gets destroyed, and in the end, everybody loses. That's the trap. That's the tragedy of the commons, when our own rational self-interest leads to ruin for the whole group.
So how does this play out today? Well, take something like herd immunity. For a disease like measles, you need something like 95% of the population to be vaccinated to keep everyone safe. In this case, the commons, that shared pasture, is the healthy, disease-free community itself. Every individual choice to opt out, for whatever reason, nibbles away at that shared protection. And if enough people do it, it can lead to a really tragic outcome for the entire group.
And here's the cool part. Once you have this model in your head, you start seeing it everywhere. Overfishing our oceans? That's a tragedy of the commons. The rise of antibiotic-resistant bacteria because of overuse? Same thing. Even something as simple as spam email cluttering up our inboxes or rush hour traffic, they're all examples of the same pattern. Individual actions damaging a shared system.
So you see, these models, they're not just interesting little factoids. They're not trivia. They literally give you a new way to see the world, a new way to reason, a new way to think. They're the key to unlocking what some people call superthinking. And look, the goal isn't to become an expert in everything. You don't have to know it all. The real power comes from borrowing the biggest, most useful ideas from lots of different fields and then weaving them together into what you can think of as a lattice work in your mind. This approach, looking at things from multiple angles, is how you really start to see problems clearly and avoid those dangerous blind spots.
So, let's wrap this up. What's the big takeaway? It's that you can consciously upgrade your thinking. You can shift from that slow addition style to a faster, more powerful multiplication style by using these frameworks. By learning to ask, and then what? And by understanding how our individual choices impact the whole group, you're building that diverse mental toolbox. And that toolbox, that is your key to unlocking much, much smarter thinking.
So I'm going to leave you with a challenge. You've just added 2 pretty powerful models to your mental toolbox. Now I want you to look around. Look at your job, look at your life. What's one problem you're going to see completely differently starting today?